study more on that, practice more on that, but not really.
So primary, secondary. Okay, let me start second. All right, so I'm trying to load my servers, so we can just practice what one is this. This is my secondary domain control. This is my primary. So login. And then log in here. Shall we need this?
So there's one more thing I would like you to expatiate for me.
Okay.
Okay, I tried visualizing a scenario where I'm opportuned to work with a virtual machine.
Mm-hmm.
And, or do I say bringing to reality what we've been doing in class,
Mm-hmm.
having a domain and several users.
Mm-hmm.
Now, say I go for an interview and then by God's grace, I pass the interview. Mm-hmm. And then what I'm just trying to say is this. I have myself being having the primary domain controller, mm-hmm. and then having other users. Usually in an organization, there will be several systems, several machines supposed to connect to the primary domain. Mm-hmm. So am I correct so far?
Yeah, there'll be clients in the domain, yeah.
Okay, so
all managed from the domain controller.
Okay, so is it that I would personally or my other team members would individually go and put the necessary operating system in each machine, each of the client's machine? Because I'm just imagining how this whole thing works. Like all I'm working with so far, all I have been practicing with. Yes, an enterprise network. Because what really raises this question, okay, I've thought about it before, but
okay, yeah, go on.
The one you talked about, okay, there was a class you had a few days ago. That was a class I missed. There was this cafe example running a cyber cafe, and I'm wondering, so if I had a cyber cafe, all I'll have to go do is for all the systems in that cafe, I would have to do some settings, like put in some operating system works with what we're learning so far.
Yes, for an enterprise, that is it. That's what you have to do.
So if an enterprise has like 1,000 machines, I'll have to go do this in the 1,000 machines.
Oh, yes. So, all right, so let's take it from scratch. For an enterprise network, a physical network, you are not seeing your 1,000 machines on your virtual box. They are not virtual machines. They are real. They are physical. They are old school. So you'd have to buy each of the machines. You'd have to install each of the machines. You'd have to load server operating system on the servers, maybe 1 or 2 servers, and client operating system, for example, Windows 20, Windows 10 Enterprise, on each of the 1,000 machines, one by one. However, at the advanced level, there is what you call remote. It used to be called remote installation. Now it's called what's the name? Anyway, I'll remember the new name. But basically, if you are advanced Windows user, beyond what I've taught you now, you have gained some practical skills. You can remotely means you can sit on your domain controller and remotely like do 90% of the work, loading operating systems on the clients instead of going to the clients one by one. Are you getting it?
Okay.
So,
yes, sir.
But that is not one person's work, like I keep saying. There will have to be somebody who was originally contracted to set up the network. So the network person would have done this part that I'm talking about before you come in as an employee or the network administrator to take it from that point. So if they're expecting the same person to set up the network from scratch, to go to the market, buy servers, come buy switches at this level, because it's a local area network, you don't need a router, ideally, unless you have complications later and you want to break up the network. All right, so you get your switch, you get your panel, and then your cables. Yeah, well, I'm taking it from scratch now, from the very scratch. So you cut all your cables to sizes, you crimp them one by one. First of all, you may want to do structured cabling. Structured cabling means that you want to terminate them on faceplate. You know what faceplate is? That wall socket to which you plug your. All right, so you terminate all your cables like this, and then you run them through the loft, and then you have your faceplates on the wall coming out to which you plug this. All right, that again is another contract. It's a different one. All right, so having completed that, you now run all your cables. One end of your cable, your straight through cable. So there are three. You could terminate them in three forms: straight through, rollover, and crossover. But in this case, you terminate them as straight through cables. This is networking, and this is not admin. And then you plug one end to your switch, and the other end to your NIC. The NIC is the one that has your MAC address, the network interface card. For each of the 1,000 systems, you do that. So by connecting all the 1,000 systems and your server straight through cables running from their NIC to the switch, you have set up the physical infrastructure of your network. So once that guy completes his work, they will now call you and say, our network is in place. Our physical network is in place. You now come and do everything you have learned here to create a domain out of that physical network. Of course, at that level, maybe the guy who completed that part of the job would take it's not likely he will take the pain to ping to see that all systems are connected. His own work ends at the physical layer, ideally. A physical layer just means the connections are okay, the cables are good. So when you come in, you now begin to ping one by one to begin to do everything you have learned, to make sure, first of all, that all the systems are actually seeing each other. Okay. And then you load, if you have not already loaded. No, you haven't already loaded. That's how we're going to. You load your, what happened? I lost all of you. I don't see you anymore.
I see you, sir.
You can see me.
Yes.
I suddenly lost the video. I can't see anybody. Anyway, so you do the connection, then you start your pinging. You start to assign your IP addresses. If you want to use dynamic IP address, you make sure your DHCP is configured on your server so that DHCP can now automatically assign 1,000 IP addresses. Where are you going to get IP addresses from? On class C, you can only give a maximum of 254 IP addresses. So you use a class B or another class of IP address that can support up to 1,000 systems. All right, so dynamically, the 1,000 systems are distributed to all of them. Then you go ahead, do everything you have learned to join them all to domain. Okay, so usually maybe the same, usually it's not the same person that does it. There are people who do structured cabling. Their own is just cabling. And then there are people who now do this other part, which they'll call you in for to come and do. And then thereafter, when the system is, when the network is now a full domain working fine, you have done all your testing, you can hand over, and then somebody who will manage the network from that point. Or usually you're a contractor, unless they employ you to do all of that, will now come in to begin to do network administration, this other part. So do you get it? So for a structure, for an enterprise network, there'll be structured cabling, there'll be switches, one or most, for one, there's no switch with 1,000 ports. So you're going to have many switches, all arranged in on your panel, and then you can connect from one switch to another so that you have at least 1,000 ports available through which you can, of course, you are going to have cables messing up the whole place. So you want to tidy the cables, make sure they are labeled. So there's a different course on structured cabling, on how to arrange the cable, and then so that troubleshooting will be easy, so that when one system cannot connect because the cable was not well terminated, you don't go looking through 1,000 cables just to identify the system that you are trying to troubleshoot. So you label them. All right, so that's how it is done. So as a cable person, because I said I was once a cable person in the UK, here in the US with Spectrum, so we go to like a full apartment. Apartment would be like ideally would be like a 4-story building. No, yeah, a 4-story building, and then they will have a telecoms room where they have assembled all the cables running to the different flats in the apartment would have been well structured and terminated on not a switch, on the panel in that telecoms room. So when I come in as a Spectrum person to give them internet, I work with those cables, because those cables, most of the time, they're already well labeled. Sometimes they are not well labeled and everything. And it makes the work really, really hard for me. But most of the time for apartments, they have facility engineers within the apartment, maintaining the apartment. And then they're already well labeled. So you just know, okay, I'm connecting the internet for room for apartment 22. And then you just run the cable. We'll go through all of this, these things I just summarized to you now. We know what cable has run from that telecoms room to the room. And then we'll go all the way to wherever they can, usually on the last floor. And then once we identify that cable and we're able to terminate that cable on the DEMAC there, then we can come back to the apartment and begin to do our work, knowing that that cable is now indirectly and invariably linking to Spectrum. You can now connect the modem and configure the modem from there. And then the modem also is not too far from what you have made. The modem, you connect you use the same cable to connect your modem. Okay, now it happens that the same equipment, the same piece of equipment that is the modem, is also the Wi-Fi router, it's also the Wi-Fi, it's also the router, it's also the NAT. So this thing's about configuring router gateway. I mean, your gateway is also the gateway. So this IP address for router, you enter the modem by plugging that to the back of your modem, and then plugging the other end to your laptop, and then you can enter the modem, because the username and the password of the modem will usually be behind the modem. Most of the time, admin. And then you can enter the modem, and then you now see your NAT, your gateway, and then you can enter the correct IP. Or usually they're already configured by Spectrum before handing over to you. But once in a while, maybe you want to do parental control, or you want to add another IP or something. Once in a while, you might need to go in to set things. When you do need to go in, what you will find there will not be too different from things that you have been learning. You find your way around. DHCP, you see DHCP, you see, okay, what if I don't want to use DHCP? But of course, there are things that you must use, because that modem, that router, that gateway must see their network. But for things that you can, usually those things are grayed out, so you are not able to change them. But for things that you can configure, you can alternate who has access to my Wi-Fi. Should I blacklist this IP address, or should I restrict this website so that nobody goes on this website. No, you can do stuff like that. All right. That also, even though we have not done in the class, it's not something you cannot do. Just connect your cable. Use your cable to connect your modem, your gateway. That seems tiny device. Sometimes it's so tiny, just that size for small office, home office. But for enterprise network, it could be that big. Connect to your, it's called console. Connect to your console port, enter the username and the password, and then you have access. You enter your username and password like we did with, you remember Windows authentication we did yesterday? Where you enter the IP address, and then as you were browsing the IP address, and then it says, who are you? You enter your username and your password. That's how you enter modem. That's the modem. Then when you enter, you see NAT. By the time you look around, you just look at it. So that's what you do. So because this work is really, really big and no one man is expected to work on all layers of, especially both the data, the physical layer, the data link, and the network layer. So these jobs are separated. So when you are coming in at this level, unless you have gained some 7 years, 10 years experience and you say I can do all of them, you are expected to see a network that is already in place. The server and the 1,000 computers are already connected physically. They may not all be perfect. You make them perfect, and then you go ahead to load your operating system on each of them. If you don't have that skill to do it remotely, remote access installation, then you will have to move physically one by one to each system and taking your CD with you to install on each of them. In that case, you will need support. You need people to quickly recruit small boys to say, okay, this is what you do. Once you teach them, yeah, it's called Windows Deployment Services. They used to call it remote access installation, but now it's called Windows Deployment Services. It allows you, it teaches you, I mean, it's, that is the name that Windows calls sitting down on your server and loading all your 1,000 systems remotely. All right, but if you don't know that, then you have to go and do it physically. But again, our training is cloud focused. We are looking at cloud. Whatever we are doing, what we are seeing in front of us is cloud, not enterprise. So I didn't bother to teach you enterprise. In fact, I'm trying to move you away from enterprise. I'm taking you to cloud. So in cloud, these things are much, in fact, most of the time they are just a click of a button. I did some practice of cloud this morning and you'll be amazed. So simple, so simple. All right, so this is the old school way of doing it on enterprise networks. But these days, enterprise networks are moving to cloud, and so we're learning how we'll support them when they do move to cloud. And for the ones that are already in cloud, we're already supporting them. All right, so we had this.
Earlier you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Earlier you mentioned classes of IP addresses. You mentioned a Class C IP address, and that you talked about I think it's a class that we'll be using during the training and how we'll be able to use just 1 to 254. Now, in a case where we'll have like this large number of users that is more than 254, then what happens? So I didn't even know we had like different classes of IP addresses.
Yes,
so what class? Okay, what class are we or have we been using during the course of this training?
Class C.
Class CP.
No, C. Class Charlie. Class C.
Okay.
So we also have Class A, Class B. Class A will have the number of IP addresses. You know that in Class C, the only available octet available for the host is the last octet. The first 3 octets are constant. So that's why but for Class B, we have this last octet and the 3rd octet available to assign to host.
Oh, okay.
So if you know mathematics, do your permutation and combination. In how many different ways can you combine? You see that it's like 16,000 times. You have like 16,000 IP addresses available in Class B.
Oh, I see. All right.
So for Class A, you would have only the first octet constant. The other 3 octets will be available to share to to host, to assign to host.
All right, I would like to comment, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I want to appreciate you for your time, and we've come this far in this training, and it has been value-based. I want to thank you personally for the devotion and the thoughts to even think out to think about reaching out to our younger people like us. I have two contributions or observations, or to contribute to the conversation, since the nature of today's training is conversational. During our class, we concentrated on how to is it back up a domain controller, or how to ensure that a domain controller is has a secondary or a backup. That was our concentration. But I am thinking in a scenario where a server is hacked. My thought now is, if a server is hacked, because most times when a server is hacked, a lot of protocols and commands are changed in order to gain access to whatever they want to achieve. If a server is hacked, for example, will it affect if the hacker is doing a protocol change in a primary domain controller? Will it be replicating at the secondary domain controller? It's just a thought. I'm just looking at how these things could play out in real life. That's one question.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, okay. So, when you hack a network, it simply means that you have gained unauthorized access somehow. That's what it means. It does not mean that you are changing protocols. Protocols are the same. If HTTP is the protocol for browsing, it will remain the protocol. You cannot change it to anything else. To browse, it must be. However, you may change, that's what we call a patching. Patching is the set of security patching, the set of guides, not strict rules, that you implement on a network to secure that network. And like we were saying yesterday, this or the other day, there are so many levels, so many things you can do. Security patching within Windows, within Linux, even within cloud. So when somebody gains access through the back door, either by breaking down the firewall, there are tools. There are tools, software tools that people use to sniff, to find out, oh, what are the weak points on this network? And then, in fact, the software work like like a trap. You set up a trap, and then when you're trapped, you know, if you have lived in the village and you have to go to farm, every morning you go check your trap to see if it's caught a rabbit or something. All right, so it triggers an alarm, and then that alarm would either run a script that will do the damage quickly, just a split second, get into the network and do something, or trigger the hacker who would have a system in place, and then the hacker can manually go and do whatever he wants to do. So that's the scenario of hacking. Now, there is no one rigid way to say, okay, I was able to hack because I found the port 22 open, and then I just SSH. It's not rigidly so. Sometimes it could be like that, or I found that there was no firewall at all, and therefore it was easy for me. Or I have a software that tries the varying password based on, I know this administrator or this user's birthday. I know details about him that I can combine. There are softwares that can generate algorithm based on the confidential info that you have about the owner of that system. To say, okay, let me combine the birthday of his first son with his birthday and see. So you just, in 1 hour, you run like 1,000 different password algorithm, and hopefully one of them clicks and you're able to go in. And once the system goes in, you've already written a script that will be executed. Like, okay, go to so. So you see that hacking is not, it's not something you learn in 4 weeks or in 3 days. Hacking is something you've been trying different tools.
Like
some tools are more
trial
powerful.
and error.
But not just manual trial and error. You would never get it. You would never get it. So this explains why Windows would insist, for example, that you use complexity password. This is why Windows would insist, for example, that once you, these are part of what I call patches, security patches. Once you try the first, you try password 3 times, and the 3rd attempt fails, then the system should automatically log you off. So once you have these and many similar measures in place, then at that level, at least your network is fairly secure. And then you keep updating your Windows, because anytime there are vulnerabilities and Windows find out, Windows as a company, I mean Microsoft, they find out, oh, this is the method people are using and they are succeeding. They'll quickly write a counter, update their operating system with a counter solution against that method. And so once you upgrade, update regularly, then automatically you are taking care of blocking those vulnerabilities. Again, all of this is at the operating system level. There are other things, other levels, specifically the router level, the switch level. At the switch level, you can say, I don't want anything to do with the outside world. Nobody should be able to come into my network through sniffing, through anything. The only thing I want people to be able to do is HTTP. So you allow only port. Even though you have done it at the operating system level, you do it only at this, also at the switch level. At the router level, you configure your access list and so many other possible security-related protocols. So what am I saying? That this is what you are trying to protect. It's not just one layer of protection. There are different layers of protection at different levels, including even the physical security of that piece of equipment. So when they do eventually succeed, it's not really a matter of changing protocol, because these protocols are fixed. In fact, you should be the one changing the port numbers and say, okay, everybody knows that SSH is port 22. Well, once they are attempting to sniff my port 22, they know they are sniffing SSH. Okay, from now on, my system recognize my SSH not as port 22, but as port 50. So whoever is not trying to sniff through port 22, even though he gets through, is not able to SSH you. So you are the one who should practice that as part of your many, based on experience, part of the many practices you do under your network security patch. All right. So
yes, sir. To add. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I've forgotten the second part of the question.
No, I've not talked about the second question. But to add to what you've said, does that imply that the reason why we configure DNS and DHCP is to give the secondary domain controller its own identity so that it can function independently from the primary? Am I correct?
No, that's not the reason we configure DNS and DHCP.
Okay.
That's not the reason. What's the reason we configure DHCP? Let's make this interactive. What's the reason we configure DHCP? Uyo, what's the reason we configure DHCP? Are you guys hearing me?
Good afternoon,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Okay. Uyo, what's the reason we configure DHCP? Olabi, get ready. Your question will come next. You can't keep waiting.
I said it's to assign the IP addresses.
Why do we need to assign IP addresses? So DHCP automatically assign IP addresses. Why is it important for us to? What's the importance of IP addressing in the network?
To resolve.
I would say it's to is to connect to other computers. Either for usually to connect with other machines.
Okay. So what's the importance of IP addressing in networking? Sheon Owolabi. All right, so back to the question, Ilona. So the reason we have DHCP is to automatically assign IP address. And without IP addresses on the network, systems cannot talk to one another. They cannot talk to themselves. So IP addressing is the parameter, the ID by which I don't call you Ilona, I call you 224 if we were working in the same organization. So that 224 is your IP address. So without IP address, how do I know you? So even when I do call you name, because IP addresses are hard to remember, sometimes you don't even know the IP address. You don't know it. Because it's not all, it's just because you are technical people. That's why you happen to know that this is where IP addresses are saved. So for the accountant and for the other members or staff of this organization that are not IT oriented, why would they need to go and learn 192.100.100.7? So the simple name for them to remember is the name of that computer. Maybe you call that computer HR, HR1, HR2, or the name of the computer. So if we say IP addressing is so important, and yet people are able to communicate with computers just by the name of the computer, not by IP address, what happened there? What happened? There is a table that has helped resolve, that I look at the name and say, okay, the name HR1 that you are trying to connect to is actually IP address 100.100.100.10, and then you now forward. So it will resolve the host name to an IP address and help the communication to continue. So that service that resolves host name to IP address is the DNS. So DHCP and DNS work so closely together to help you to make sure that the systems, the 1,000 computers on that network are able to communicate with one another. You get it now?
Yes, I
So it is this fundamental on what makes you a network engineer. It's not only your ability to go to DHCP and configure and enter and configure it, or to go to IP address and enter a static IP address. That's not the real thing. What really makes you a network engineer and make you fit for job is your understanding of the kind of concepts that I just explained now. If you do not understand that concept, if you are just entering an IP address, it's try and error. But your understanding of the concept is what really helps you to do the work. Oh, so from that explanation now, I know now that if I'm trying to ping a system and I ping 192.254.100.100, I'm getting reply, which means there is a communication link. But the name of that system is DC1. I'm trying to ping DC1. I'm not getting reply. It says I cannot reach host. What's the problem? What is the problem?
Wow.
Yeah?
Leon, I can go ahead.
Yeah, why do I have that problem? The same computer is the same computers, the host name is DC1. I ping the host name, no reply, no contact, destination reachable or something. When I ping the IP address, I get result. Oh, I'm communicating, I can see where I can talk to this computer. So what's the problem? If you do not understand the concept, you cannot understand that problem. And you cannot solve a problem that you do not understand. So in this particular case, what is the problem here? This is a fundamental question. Sorry?
Hello. Yes, so the domain name for that particular IP address has not been resolved.
Correct. So that is it. So now that you know that the domain name has not been resolved, you want to solve this problem. Now you have identified the problem. How do you now solve this problem? What are you going to do to solve this problem? You are still in my office.
Configuring the domain.
Okay. Continue, Olabi.
Yes, so by doing the configuration of the domain name for that particular IP address, doing the forward lookup.
How are we going to do it?
Okay, so we go to our server, we click on tools, we click on DNS.
DNS is what I wanted to mention. DNS is what I wanted you to mention. Domain name means DNS, but I still want to hear that DNS. So now that you have mentioned DNS, yes, good. So DNS was the problem. So like Olabi explained, the issue was the system was not able to resolve that host name to the DNS so that you can forward your packet to the IP address. So you can go ahead and forward your packet. So the ability to understand that is the first thing. The ability to understand that is the first thing. So you should be able to understand this relationship and know, and by that understanding, know when the problem is a DHCP problem or it's a DNS problem. Before you cannot go to the system and say, where is DNS? So it must be under tools. Even if it takes you a few seconds to find out where DNS is before you, this is what I'm looking for, it doesn't matter. The important thing is you are going into the system knowing what you are looking for. You know that you are going to look for DNS service so that you can play around with it. Even if you don't know exactly what to configure there, it still does not matter. What really matters is, at least I know that DNS is the problem. Let me go enter the DNS and I'm hoping I'll find something. Oh, somebody unchecked this bus. Oh, somebody changed my IP address. Oh, I will find it there. Very, very, very fundamental. What makes you the person I want you to be? It's not just, that's important. It's okay to be able to go to the system and know what to do. But what's more important is your conceptualization of the issue and knowing that, these are possibilities. It must be this, it must be this. Oh, because I know it must be this, let me go in. Another question is this. Now, this is your not able to browse problem. Every other thing is working, but you are not able to browse. What do you think? Your NAT is configured. Your NAT is okay. You have nothing to configure your NAT, just to check the button. You are not entering an IP address. So as far as you can see, everything is okay. So what do you think the problem might be? If I ask you, go ahead and troubleshoot, and you must troubleshoot. Because once you're on the field and there's a problem, you must solve the problem. You consult if you cannot solve it. Now, before you start to consult, you really want to think deep and find out what could this problem be. If you understand networking well enough, you should be able to at least say, this is a possibility. It is likely that this is the problem. Just give me one possibility that would arise in that issue. Or anybody for that matter. What do you think the problem might be? If everything else is good, yet you are not able to browse, what is the one thing that you suspect might not be good?
I would say DHPC, not because I have a very concrete reason, but because it's on the DHPC. That's what
DHCP.
DHCP. Thank you. Okay, that's where I think it's, well, I'm not very sure, but I think it's the DHCP.
Okay, so in that case, go to your DHCP and look around. You just might find something. Maybe it's not even configured, or DNS, or both. All right. Now let us assume that those two are configured and they are okay. Of course, it's okay to start your troubleshooting from there, especially DNS. All right. So what else could be the problem? Any person? Anybody else? You're sorry.
I would say we check the network adapter.
Yeah, network adapter is fine. Actually, the network is okay. It's just the browsing that we're not able to do. The network adapter wasn't fine, then the network will not be okay. It's able to join to domain and do other stuff, but it's not able to browse. That question to advance for you?
It's also possible that maybe it doesn't have maybe the DNS is recognizing the MAC address.
MAC address?
Because, or is it the MAC? No, I'm not really sure, but there's a configuration you did. There was a time we had a similar challenge one time.
Okay.
Where you are actually, is it cloned? I think you cloned a DC, a domain controller, and you wanted it to be the secondary domain controller. And because it was cloned, they were sharing, I've forgotten that term now, they were sharing.
Okay. But you have to remember to be able to answer the question. But I think I know. But in practical terms, sorry to cut you short. I just wanted us to come back to the question. Not what I did, but what you think the problem is. They are two different things.
Yes, what
now,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, go on.
And is that problem I'm trying to identify, but I don't have the exact. I think I need to go back to my notes to know what you did that period to resolve that problem.
Yeah, you have to know before you can share it. Who was that? Who is talking?
Adams.
Adams. Okay, Adams. All right. So, what is that problem? What's the possibility? In real life, there is a place we'll just go to, and that is likely to be the problem, apart from all these other ones that you are mentioning. I mean, if this was in cloud, or you were calling me that this is the issue you are having, and I'm troubleshooting. Well, it may not be the exact problem in this case, but that is the place my mind will go to. That's the first thing my mind will go to. Everything is good. Try this, you good, you ping, you are joining, you are seeing it in the domain, but you are not browsing. So this problem is peculiar only to browsing. That's the key. That's the claim. This problem is peculiar to browsing. It's just browsing that you cannot do. You can do everything else as far as this practice of this course is concerned. Okay, maybe because we have not really done it extensively. That's why you don't know.
Okay, so I think that term I'm looking for is it SSID that you went to?
Yeah, SID was, we could not even do anything. We could not even join to domain. And we had a domain error. This system cannot join to domain because the number is not unique. So that's a different problem. So this one, we have joined to domain. We are doing everything we should do, but we are not browsing. All right. So the first thing to look at, the first area to look at if we are not browsing is to check if our browsing port has been blocked. So our browsing port is port 80 for HTTP. Port 80, maybe it's a bit too advanced for you, but let me just share it. Port 80 and it's part of firewall. So is your firewall on? That's the first thing I'll ask. Your firewall is all right. That is step one. That I might be right. If your firewall is on, turn your firewall off briefly and see if you can browse.
Right.
If you can browse with firewall off, then turn your firewall back on. The problem now is there is the port. When there is a firewall around your system, there is a port to which browsing should happen. That port, that's why you're not able to browse. Open that port. So go to your firewall configuration and open browsing port, HTTP port, otherwise called port 80. So it is likely the problem here is that you have closed port 80, and anytime it is attempting to browse, the door to browsing is locked. All right, that's the number one thing I will look at. It may not be that problem. If it's not that problem, I'll keep troubleshooting. I'll keep looking around. But from who blocked it, of course, you don't want to know who blocked it or whether it was blocked mistakenly or I didn't do it. It's not a matter of I didn't do it. Who did it? No, just find out what the problem is, and then it's likely, since your firewall is on, that your port 80, your HTTP port. So this port 80 and port stuff, they'll make more sense later on. This is just 4 weeks of training. So we have deliberately selected the part of the server OS training that will give you proper footing at the beginning, and not to just give you too much that would confuse you and not help you learn and consolidate on it. All right. So that's just by the way. So what we did with all of that was just to show us the logical way to reason when you are attempting to resolve issues. And issues would always come up. It would be so not be wise at all to assume that because you know all of this, everything that you know, then once you go on the field, you're able to solve all problems. It's not correct. Issues will come up, and the way to solve issues, the way to resolve issues when they come up is to see them and reason logically. How does this connect with this? How does this connect with this? What if this one was not there? Oh, it is just like she will answer that question. That's the way to reason. And once you can reason like that, not just for concerning IP, but everything concerning networking, you will have job. You will get job. Or at the beginning, because you are only 4 weeks into networking and network admin, and therefore you have not had enough practice to know everything, at least the little that you know, explain them so well, so logically that people will feel that, if you could understand that, then it won't take me more than 2 hours to put him through to understand this. All right, so back to your question now, Ilona, we really want that far. What's the second part of your question? Sit there. Ilona, others. All right, so any more questions, comments, contribution? So as a network administrator, the everyday duties will be like create accounts, all those things we learned under network admin tools, administrative tools. Create account for new user, a user forgot password, they will call you. You want to block somebody, somebody logged himself out of the network, will call you. Those basic things. Those are the basic everyday. That's what you just do every day. Then once in a while, of course, we'll do others, but all those administrative. So your networking interview, your network admin interview will normally be around, can you create accounts? Can you create a group? What's that? Group policies. Can you use group policies? What and what? Of course, we didn't teach you everything about group policies. Can you view? Okay, let us look at it. So Active Directory users and computers. So the questions will be around all right. What's this? No, not yeah. Your administrative work as a network administrator will be around here most of the time. Users and what you do here. But this is not what I want to show you. Where is it now? All right, so tools. Will be around, what do we have here? System configuration, well, not in details, but event viewer, what is happening on the system, for example. Okay, this may be advanced, or Windows log. Okay, it's advanced at this stage. It's advanced, but basically, you can see what's happening on the system as far as security is concerned. Okay, so depending on what you allowed, you can see who has successfully logged into the system, logged out of the system, and then who is making attempts. So here you can see, people are making attempts to hack into our network. Imagine in the past 1 hour, 1,000 people have tried to log in. Have tried to gain unauthorized access. And you can say, wow, management would need to improve on our network security. Let us get a Cisco router that's able to block all packets before it gets here. From here, you can make recommendations. Well, this is advanced. I don't want to confuse you, but the point I am making is that these things are available here. Group policy, event viewer. There's something else. You can monitor the performance of your system in terms of monitoring tools, performance monitoring. Yeah. But again, how do you interpret this? No, don't worry about it. So that way you know, oh, this system now is using 95% of its CPU resources. We need to upgrade. We need to upgrade. We need a bigger capacity system. So you can know all of that. Okay, don't worry. But you can play around. There's no harm. But I'm just cautious not to confuse you. I should be consolidating on what you know and not introduce new things to confuse. So from the perspective of consolidating on what you know, then let's go to Active Directory users and computers, and then be able to do stuff there. All right. So users, for this user, this one you do it every day, so you must remember. And then somebody forgets password. How do you make somebody a member of another group? How do you create organizational units? These are simple things. Go and watch those videos and practice and consolidate. So that's the primary thing you're expected to know. And you'll be surprised that for all everything we say about network administration, that's what you basically do every day. However, like I said, once in a while, issues will come up and you are expected to resolve them. That is where the other skills that you have learned will be handy. All right? Questions?
Yes, sir.
Questions? Uzoma Nobel, are you part of the class? Or we've not heard you said anything? Are you an observer, a participant?
I'm a participant.
Okay, then say something. Ask question.
Okay.
This is your first class?
No, this is my second class.
Okay. All right, so this might be true. You may not understand what we're saying because it's only your second class.
Yeah, I got up to the DNS and the DSCP part. I understand that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, if you don't ask questions, there's no way I can keep talking with you. Ask questions.
So you've mentioned Linux severally, and how
Mentioned
is
what?
I say you have mentioned Linux
Okay.
severally, and how is more robust than Windows. Please, could you just make me understand a little how does it work?
Linux is, in this Windows, what we're doing with Windows now is preparing a platform. Okay, for example, the part of web development, the part of, not web development, the part of making our Windows server our web server as well. How many people will be browsing those web services that we want to place on that web server? 50 persons? 100 persons? Within our domain, how many employees do we have? So we can estimate by the number of employees on that domain, how many people we expect will be browsing. So I work for Shell, for example, and then at that time we had like 3,000 staff in Shell Worry. All right, so it's okay, Windows is okay. What about if you are going to have 3 million people browsing, checking that website? Windows will crash. What did I say? Did I say 3 million?
Yes.
Yeah, even 1 million. Windows will crash under 1 million traffic. So if Windows is going to crash under that kind of traffic, then what operating system do you need that is robust? And of course, security is a major issue. pro security, and has, you know, scalability, reliability, all the big advantages that you want on a server. That operating system is something better than Windows. That's where Unix comes in.
So is it complex to manage?
Yeah, the difference is Windows you can always play around because it's graphics. Windows is GUI, graphic user interface. So you can look around and say, oh, what am I? You can double click. In Unix, it's blank screen. You want me to show you the Unix screen?
Wow.
It's commands, codes.
Yes, it's command prompt.
Command prompt.
Yeah, command prompt. So Unix will be blank, just blank screen, showing only something like C:\\. So everything should have been clicking in Windows. Nothing is there for you to click. You are now entering the commands from your head.
Wow.
So make directory. You enter the command, make directory, and call it Uyo. Make directory Uyo. What is inside this directory? In Windows, you just click Uyo and you see what's inside. No, here you say change directory, CD to Uyo. Okay, I'm in Uyo now. Okay, show me what is inside Uyo. LS. So for everything, there is a command to do it.
Okay.
So instead of just dragging file and putting it on another folder like you would do in Windows, then you have to say a command, enter it, you type it, copy, what's the file name? Akin.txt from this current directory to Uyo. Where is Uyo? Uyo is in C drive /Uyo. So you enter commands, you just command. And compared to Windows that is graphics and heavy, that is very light, but much more powerful than Windows. So the thing is, all these big companies that we are talking about, kind of big companies where you ultimately like to work, they don't use Windows to run big companies. They use Linux. They use Unix, actually. And then under Unix, there are different flavors of Unix. There are different sub-Unix systems. Linux is one popular Unix OS. So because you are going to work for them, you want to learn the platform that they run their applications on. They run applications on Unix platform. You want to learn Unix. Or for small organizations, relatively small organizations, Windows is okay. So if you are working for a small, a local company, you know, you just go there, do your admin work, you know, like a bank or something. At that level of that branch, Windows is okay. But at the level of the headquarters, to which the bank is only one of 3,000 branches, Windows will not do the work there. They need Unix to do the work, to be able to pump the part of the overall traffic that will come to the bank. Do you understand it? Or to bring this in perspective, to give you a very, very common example that will make you appreciate this. Suppose, okay, let me just give you an everyday example. You know where water comes from originally, okay? The water system doesn't, what's it called now? Water boards don't work anymore, but when they used to work, you know where they used to pump water from? That you need plenty, you need big diameter pipes to pump water from where they are coming from. And then from where they are coming from originally, the original source, by the time they now get to where they will be distributed, the pipes will no longer need to be that big, they will only be this big. So I'm saying that the pipe that is used to generate water this big, I mean, pumping within pipes of this diameter, the engine is not the same as the engine that used to pump water on pipes this diameter. That big engine is Linux. This small engine is Microsoft Windows.
Okay.
Something like that. Something like that. I want another example. Or you want to sell something in wholesale and you're looking at a trailer load of milk. You don't use a pickup van to go and collect trailer load of milk and be going 3 times, 4 times. You use, what do you use? You use trailer. That trailer is Linux. Well, after trailer has supplied to the warehouse, and you now need to come and collect only about 5 dozens, then you can use your pickup van. That pickup is Windows.
Okay.
But at the higher level, it's Linux. It's Unix. I keep saying Linux because Linux is the part of Unix that I know and that's common. But it's actually broader than Linux. But Linux is the. All right, so that's an idea. Is it easier to use than Windows? No, it's more difficult. Oh, no wonder they are paid higher. Are the opportunities in Nigeria? Not really likely. But are you preparing yourself for Nigerian market or are you preparing for global market? If it's for Nigerian market, you have enough. Go and practice this. You are preparing for global market, never know what opportunity could come up, then get ready to learn Linux. There is no end to learning IT. 4 weeks of learning IT is just the beginning. There are always things to learn to remain relevant. There are always things to learn to remain relevant. All right, questions?
I have a question.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Uzama.
Yes. To run a Linux operating system on our laptops we have on now, can we run them on Windows, or we need to create another partition for that purpose?
You need to, your virtual machine. Have you created a virtual machine on your laptop? Zama?
Yes.
Yeah, you just create another virtual machine and then you put Linux on that virtual machine. So you have one virtual machine running Windows, you have another virtual machine running Linux. In fact, by the time we are done with Windows, unless you are still practicing for yourself, you may not even need the Windows virtual machine. You can remove it completely and make the space available. Create a virtual machine from the big space, and then you load Linux on that virtual machine, and then you practice Linux. Just like we did here, joining 2 computers together and practicing. So you are going to do. So if your host could support Windows, then you have no problem. It definitely will support Linux because Linux is much lighter than Windows. Where Windows was requesting for 50 gigs, Linux will take only 2 gigs. Where Windows was requesting for 2 gig memory of RAM minimum, Linux will take 1 gig or less.
Okay, sir.
More powerful. If you are going to work for Netflix, in fact, you cannot begin to mention how many companies use Linux. All of them use Linux. You can only count the ones that do not use Linux. Any big company, because Windows can't run it. Windows can't run those platforms. GSM company has 20 million subscribers. I heard Glow had 20 million subscribers at one time. They don't run on Unix, on the
Windows.
On Windows, they run on Unix. So I have a student in my actual class that works so people who work in Unix for GSM company, they do scripting. So they may not come and say, in fact, they may not even know that they are, whatever the title can, the title can vary. But bottom line, if somebody says, I do scripting for Glow or I do scripting for, it just means they are Linux people. They are Linux people. So they are paid very well. They work on the servers, at the server level, not at the RF level, driving logs from base station to base station, fixing problems. That's a different level. That's a different network level.
Sir, please, can I come in, please?
Yes, please.
Please, just to digress, do you know somebody that works in that capacity? Because I'm just looking at the possibility of such kind of person would be able to contract e-pins. I'm looking at recharge card printing business. Such kind of person will be very handy if you want to go into that kind of business for e-pins. I don't know if I'm making sense, sir.
I don't really get what you're saying. Yeah, I know people who work in that capacity. I'll be training people now. I know very many people who work in that capacity. But it's not their business. They are just doing what they are paid to do. So they don't want to do things that is not part of their roles. So bringing another kind of business that is not their role, that is not their responsibility. They are paid to do what they are meant to do. So they are very cautious not to, they want to retain their job. They don't want to do anything outside what they have to do. But in terms of sharing experiences, instead of saying, this is what we do, this is the latest software, this is how we do it. Yes, they are available. To me, they know me, they are mine. I've been in this industry for a while. So locally in Nigeria, abroad in the UK, in the US, yeah, I have people here and there. But are they able to help you? Am I able to introduce you to them and say, this guy did 4 weeks free training with me? Please help him.
You emphasize the free, sir.
Yes, it doesn't. No, they will not be able to help. I emphasize it. Thank God you caught the emphasis.
Don't worry, we are getting there. We're getting to that level where we'll be talking at a frequency.
So this guy did 6 months training. My intern. He's very good. He's loyal. He's but he has problem in this area. Please, could you help me take him through just 2 hours? Just help me. Oh, okay. I'll do that for you, sir. You'll be doing it for me, not for you. So today is Thursday. All right. So I don't need that for Thursday. All right.
Sir.
Oh yeah, you look so beautiful when you smile. Please keep the smile.
Thank you, sir. So I was going to ask, we are still this is like a stepping stone for us, the training, especially for those of us who do not have any. We're just trying to build our foundation in this industry. Now you have been there. That's why, by God's grace, you have been. You there's this opportunity for you to impact this knowledge, on us. So definitely, you would have gone through your challenges. You have been in this for over a decade. How were you able? What was the motivation? What kept you going all through the challenges? What's still keeping you going till now?
I guess passion.
Yes. Well, that's a hard one, though. There's no motivation. No. There's no motivation. Many times I have attempted, even up to recently, to just dump IT and dump this and go and look for the big one. Especially here in the US, everybody wants to go to YouTube. Everybody say, I can make you a millionaire. I became a millionaire in 3 days. Dump whatever you are doing. Come and buy my. So different jargons online. Different jargons. And then when you come to the US and you say, this is Oyibo talking, he must be real. So you try your hands in so many things, burn your fingers, and then I've burnt my fingers many times. I've abandoned IT as a trainer, even though I know that's my ministry and that's my calling. Many times to go and look for shortcuts to be millionaires, to be millionaire in dollars now. Naira million is nothing anymore. So if I had that motivation and I really was sincere with IT, maybe. So I am like that, like everyone else. It's not like I just abandoned everything else and stayed with IT and was faithful to IT. No, that's not true. I also have tried shortcuts. I've tried shortcuts, not just now, from beginning. But I know, I don't believe, I know that my calling is IT. So every time I try everything else and fail, I always fail. In fact, that's the motivation. If any other thing has worked for me, by now I wouldn't be in IT. I have always failed in everything else. I'll go and say, this is what I want to do. My friend in Shell is earning this one is earning this, I want to earn that too. At one time, I also looked for work in GSM companies. But I failed in all of that. And every time I failed and I came back to IT, it was a step higher. It was like, oh, you are back. I've been waiting for you. Okay, now that you are here, look at this idea. Go and do it. And then I'll make money. And then that'll keep me motivated for, I really have made money in IT, good money. I'll keep me motivated for 1 year, 2 years, And then I'll, That guy just bought a latest 2020 car. Me too, I want to buy 2020 car. Is it this IT that will give me? I wonder again. I wonder, have my fingers burnt, get disappointed. By the time I come back to IT, you are back. Okay, take this idea. And then I'll just, and usually until 2014, when I experienced a shift in life, everything I touched in IT was gold in spite of my challenges. Everything I touched in IT. If I needed 5 million naira, all I needed was to, what do I do? And then the idea would just come, why don't you do this, do this, do this? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I have that money. The good side was like that, but of course, the motivation never stayed for so long. So what am I saying with all of this? All of this is part of the motivation. That it's not like there will not be challenges. It's not like you will not look at your colleagues and feel that I could do better somewhere else. If somebody else is making 1 million every day, then why do I have to wait till the end of the month to make 1 million? Okay. So there will be distraction, especially at your age. All right. With my gray beard, I'm now beginning to come back to home. IT is my home, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this program. Okay. So with you, there will be challenges, there will be distractions, there will be, is it really worth building a career when I can try what this guy is saying? He's saying that if I become this, I could become a millionaire in 1 week. So there will be stuff like that. And I will not tell you at this age not to explore them. If you don't explore them now, then what would you explore them? Explore all of them. Whatever works for you. However, IT will make sense and make meaning if you really make up your mind. And making up your mind is not what I tell you, it's what you come to experience by yourself. That, okay, this is what. So many times you'll be distracted by promises and stuff like that. If they work for you, fine. But if they do not work and you ultimately decide that IT is the way to go, then there are so many opportunities. So many opportunities. I focus on the training part of IT. That's what I enjoy. Because like I said, I've tried so many things within IT and outside of IT. And it just happens that IT is the main thing. So I actually have no choice. It's not like I failed in other things. IT is the only thing that I've succeeded in. So if I'm telling you I could have been this, I could have been that. Of course, I've reason to become at one time, it was no longer the technical part of IT. It was like managing IT. Okay, I have staff that will do the real work, but I just tell them what to do. I work at the strategy level of, okay, this is what we want. In 3 months' time, we want to have achieved this. This is the goal. This is okay. I just gather it in. Okay, you do this, you do this, you do this. Okay, we'll all work together at that level where it is not me actually doing the technical work. But at the end of the day, the motivation is that nothing else works for me other than IT. That's for me. Your own motivation, IT is so good, don't do anything else. It's not me that will tell you. You find that. But as for IT, the whole world is going IT now. I mean, that's obvious. I don't really need to. That's obvious. Everybody's IT and more people are coming on board. In the US, there is something called gig economy. Gig economy. Gig economy is simply building, and that is employing over 50 million people in America. So it's simply building, it simply means you are converting bricks and mortar, the real life world, into IT. So rather than having shopping malls and the things you normally go out to do, you now have them in app formats. Who is converting them to app? Who is maintaining the app? It's all IT. Who is providing the jobs and making payment on app? Everything is IT. And right now you have shopping malls, even in the UK and Europe generally, shutting down because it's no longer bricks and mortar. You go to a shop, it's not IT. Everything is IT. So even though we just call it IT, there are layers of this IT, where people first of all have to build networks, people will now build a platform on which these different applications operate and on which they are maintained. So it's taking job off the real world and creating new job opportunities online. So that is IT, and more people are, more and more businesses are coming on board. So as far as opportunities are concerned, these opportunities are available in IT. People are leaving their professions to convert to IT. All right, maybe that's enough motivation, knowing that, okay, whatever I'm doing now, irrespective of where I belong, because IT is wide, irrespective of where I belong in this wide IT, there would always be something for me, because this IT economy is creating 3 million new jobs every month. Maybe that's just be conservative. Therefore, okay, I would get something. Yeah, that's enough. For me, the motivation is because I have failed everywhere, and IT is the only thing I succeed at. All right. All right. So for you coming on board now, do you really want to do it? Anybody can do IT. It's no longer an excuse to say, I have a legal background or I have accounting background. Once you understand it and you feel that, it's not bad, it's something I can cope with, there is room for everyone. There's room for everyone. Just do 1 or 2 certifications to show to employers if you are eventually going to be, but it's okay to be employed. And then once you're employed and you work in that environment, ideas can begin to come. What about if I do this, if I do this? And then you could just do something on your own. So even if you intend to go on your own, it's still okay to work for a while, because I also work for a while. All right?
Okay, sir.
So,
thank you.
If you find out that, you are not meant to work for people forever, the idea will come. But if you are meant to work, why not? There's room for everybody. Not everybody will be an inventor or something. So that's it.
All right, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So for new entrants, there's plenty of room. People are looking for. I really can't say, but the confidence I have is that for Nigeria, whatever is happening in the developed world will ultimately, because it's a global, it's whatever is global will ultimately trickle. Yeah, it will trickle. Once it touches the head, it will ultimately affect the other part of the body. So if we are saying, this is happening only in America, it's happening only in Europe, it will ultimately happen in Nigeria if it's not already happening now. So we cannot separate one part of the world from the other part of the world. It's the same big conglomerates that rule and make impact in the developed countries that would ultimately do same for developing nations. So once the opportunities are there, up there, they would ultimately go around. People have no choice but to identify with these people as contractors, as people who use their platforms, as people who want to support them, to support their own customers. So the opportunities are always there. Maybe not as numerous there as they are here, but they are there. And then if they are not there, you need to move out. It's no longer called brain drain. I listened to a short talk by somebody yesterday. What's that guy's name? Femi Adesina. I was talking about it's not called brain drain. Just whatever can make your life better, just go and do it and make your life better. And by that one, contribute to your family and then ultimately to the growth of the economy. So whether it is called brain drain or whatever it is called, once there are opportunities outside, go and grasp it. Earn your money, develop your skills, earn your expertise, and then it's all part of developing your CV. When you do return to your country, at least you have something to offer compared to if you didn't even take the advantage at all, you didn't take the opportunity at all. So if Nigeria does not offer you a job as an IT person, then step out and get the job outside. And because people are always looking for IT people now, whether physically or as remote staff, the opportunities are there. We'll talk more about those opportunities subsequently. For these 4 weeks, we just want to see, help you get the maximum that you can get in 4 weeks. All right, questions?
Hello, sir. Talking about forests, I think you mentioned that we can have various domains in the forest. So we have like an architecture of, okay, say 5 domains in a forest. Each of them now having its own domain controller. Is there a way to still put all of them together? Like you now have like, I don't know, maybe forest controller kind of that will still manage all the domain controllers in that forest.
Yes.
Is there an architecture like that?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There is.
So are we going to have like a separate server in that forest? I would now, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how, the architecture is going to be.
No, nobody. Yes, it's not common. So instead of that, go and learn Linux.
Okay, it's a Linux and administrator and thing that can do such a.
In theory, for what you just explained now, yes, it's doable with Forest in Windows.
Okay, so it's something different in Linux.
Yeah, but I'm imagining you are presenting that kind of architecture to somebody and say, I use Windows to do that. They are wondering, Windows to do Forest. And they have 5 domains on that Forest. Why are you using Windows? Why are you scared of Linux? Linux is what is known to do as a solution for the kind of architecture you just presented. If you are presenting that to me and you say I have a solution, the next thing I want to hear is, this is my Linux solution. You are using Windows for that kind of solution? But if you must use Windows, yes, it's possible. In fact, that is what Forest is. Instead of me to teach you how that works in Forest, which I have not practiced, I'd rather use the more efficient and world-acclaimed solution. You know what that is?
Cloud.
No, Linux. I just said Linux.
Okay.
Linux is the server that
we have that kind
servers. Linux is called Enterprise Linux. So Linux is the server that manages server. I mean, Linux is the server that manages servers, not Forest. Forest is not the server that manages servers. Maybe within Windows operating system networks. But let's generalize it. All networks. Linux is the solution. Linux is the solution, not Forest. Even though it's possible with Forest. It's just like you are using adjustable spanner. Okay, you are adjusting a spanner so that it can fit into the knot you are trying to unscrew. Yeah, that might work. That might work.
Yeah, why not get the right sized kind of spanner?
The exact size will work better, yeah. If that knot is really, really tight, you could worn out with the wrong tool. But if you get the real one, you are sure. So Linux is the solution, the enterprise solution. So if you design that kind of architecture and you go present it and say, this is what I want to do for you, the company, they're going to ask you so many questions. They'll ask you so many questions. It's likely you will not win that contract. The person is going to implement with Linux. It's likely to win it. There are inherent issues that you will not be able to take care of using that. But Linux is already prepared to take care of those issues.
So I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, is a visualization, is it possible on mobile phones?
What do you mean? No, I don't get that. You mean, can you set up a virtual machine on mobile phone? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Is it an app
No.
that can work on mobile phones?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
That would be a great idea. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, but if you say I already have a virtualized environment on my somewhere, maybe on my laptop, can I access it from my phone?
Yeah, in another word, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's possible. Even cloud can be accessed from your phone, of course, with limited access. You'll not be able to do everything you would be able to do on the laptop. So you already have it. Yeah, just look for the app. I haven't used it. The one I've used is the one for cloud. So Amazon has an app. Amazon Cloud has an app for Android and I think for iPhone.
So please, what's the name of the app?
For cloud? For Amazon Cloud?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, now you can just Google.
Okay. I'll Google it, not to stress you on that.
AWS Console, that's what it's called.
Okay.
AWS Console.
Console.
AWS Console, yeah. If you already have an AWS cloud account, with this console, you can log in and be able to see what's, of course, you don't have 100% access to the features, but the 15% access you have, at least can show you what's going on. Just give you an overview.
So for Windows, there's none for now.
For
Windows.
What do you mean for Windows?
For setting up a virtual machine on Windows and linking with your mobile phone.
You didn't set up virtual machines on Windows. You set up virtual machines on your host, on your laptop.
On your laptop.
There might be. But remember that your laptop is just that you have configuration to do. Your laptop is not a public system. It's a private system. So to get a public IP address that will make it accessible from anywhere and from your mobile phone, you have to do some configuration. You understand what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You know, the way your laptop is now, I cannot say, give me your IP address, and I cannot connect to your laptop.
Yes, the networks are public and private.
Exactly. So you are a private network, you are not public. So how would I be able to access you through an app and then access the features that we have there? But again, in IT, it's really hard to say no, or it's not possible. We don't know everything, but there might be. But it's just that if you are seeing it from that perspective of it's a private network and not a public one, then you want to. The reason we're able to do it on AWS is that is a public network. Or the IP address. In fact, if I go to AWS now, right now, and I quickly create a server, I can give you the IP, okay. But if I want to make the IP static so that it does not change all the time because it's DHCP, I'll buy an elastic IP, EIP. I can make it available to you now within 5 minutes, and you'll be able to see what I have inside that server because it's public. I can't do the same for my laptop. All right. Yes, question? Contributions now? Something you know so well that you want to teach us, you want to teach the rest of us? Suleiman Garba, you're coming on and off. What's going on?
Hold on, sir.
Garba Suleiman. Ozoma Nobel. Where are you from? Where are you joining us from?
In Mina, Niger State, Nigeria.
Wow, that's some distance.
Yeah.
What about Uzoma? Uzoma Nobel?
Abuja.
Abuja, okay.
Yes, I'm in Abuja.
Okay. That's fine. So no wonder your network is coming on and off, Suleiman Garba.
Not really. TikTok has been having issue these days, but it used to be fine. And I was in a busy place then before. That was why I couldn't join earlier on.
All right. So questions? I'll also come in.
To ask a question.
Okay.
You talked about we moving to the cloud now. Be the world IT generally is now moving to
IT moving to cloud. Yeah.
In this in Europe and America, is it that they don't do they are strictly on cloud now, nothing like cabling and all that?
No, there are cables now. There are cables for private networks. There are cables. There are enterprise networks, but majority of the networks are migrating to cloud. Yeah, some can do hybrid, so they do a part of the network will be enterprise, another part will be cloud, and then they can join them together and work on it. Because of the inherent advantages, especially the scalability and availability of cloud, you really can't help. Imagine that you need to expand your network on an enterprise architecture. So you go and buy server. This modern world, go and buy server. Come on, no. In cloud, just automate your auto scaling. So your network is able to scale out to add more servers when the traffic is high, or scaling to reduce resources when traffic is low. What can be better than that? What can be better? And if anything happens, even to the whole of America, your cloud ensures that that's called reliability. That because your redundancy was created, replication was created for your data, you still have access to the data in a different region outside the California that was gutted by fire. So these are big advantages that will cost you so much to do by yourself. After every 5 years or 6 years, you need to upgrade. What would you be doing with those machines? So yes, there are still reasons to keep your local area networks, but it's not like before that the entire IT was 100% premise-based infrastructure. It's more like now, all IT is moving to cloud. Maybe currently you could say, I don't have the exact percentage, but you could say that over 30% of network infrastructures are already cloud-based, and more companies are realizing these advantages and are moving on to cloud. That is what is creating opportunities, new opportunities. And that's why you are learning IT, so that you can fit in 1 or 2 or 3 of those opportunities. Yeah, but on the big scale, by the time you begin to mention the big companies that govern the world, IT-wise, there is no choice. There's no way they could have been that big if they were not in cloud. Infrastructure, premise infrastructure will not give them the kind of scalability that gave them those big names. It definitely has to be cloud. All right, questions?
Another answer. So what can you say about the future of cybersecurity generally?
What is cybersecurity?
Sir?
What is cybersecurity? Why the interest in cybersecurity? So cybersecurity simply means cloud, public networks, internet. Internet cloud, what's the difference? Cloud is internet, it's just that it's private internet.
Yeah.
So because it's your infrastructure is there on the internet, is there in cloud, is there where it is publicly available. Even the one that is privately available, people are attempting to hacking. Not to talk about the one that is publicly available. So a major issue with publicly available networks is security. How do you secure it so that even though it's right there in the public and everyone sees it, or everyone can possibly see it, how do you secure it so that your information, your data is still safe. Safe, protected from the public. That's where cybersecurity comes in. So it will be about what do you do? What do you implement? How do you understand this whole concept to be able to secure it and make sure, even though your data is in public, it is safe and secure. No one has unauthorized access. So for as long as there is internet and there is cloud, the security is very, very vital, very important part of the cloud as a system. So what's the future? The future is good, it's great, because without security, and because the security is talking about internet, space, cloud, we therefore call it cyber security. Then the whole system of cloud and internet and space will crash. It is security that is keeping it there. So security is very important. Well, why is everybody doing cyber security? Why is everybody I know doing cyber security? There are other areas of IT.
I think it's just overrated and hyped. You know, people just come up with different kind of training just to attract people. People are looking for things that are in vogue and all that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's hyped, it's overrated, because that's not the only place where security happens. Even as a cloud architect, even as a Linux person, even right here in Windows, we're already doing the security that is related to Windows. So security is not peculiar to cybersecurity. Security is everywhere. At every level of implementation in that architecture, you are implementing security. Once you go into cloud, the first EC2 machine you create, the first server you create in cloud, is already secured. You can only log in through SSH if you open that port. You can only browse if you open that port 80. So it's already secured, even at the elementary level. So security is inherent. It's already part of cyber. It's already part of cloud. It's already part of internet. But if you want to take it to a deeper level, then there's cyber security. But of course, there's also, it doesn't have to be cyber. Well, cyber security is a loose word, but it doesn't have to be that core cyber security. Because even within cloud architecting, you can also specialize in security. There are different areas of specialization. You can be a security person, you can be an AI, artificial intelligence, AI person, you can be a machine learning person, you can be, these are different aspects. Security is one. So without studying the course cyber security, you can still be a security expert just by specializing in security. And security, what's security? Not too different from all the firewalling, routing, access lists. So at the different levels, what are the different protocols and patching that you can implement just to secure that network? So it used to be CPP, security professional. What's that? There used to be many certifications. But like Ilona said, this one is just overhyped right now so that you can pay good money and say I'm a cybersecurity. Maybe you just like the title. But everybody I know is doing cybersecurity. Yes.
Petition, in fact, is the hottest course in ICT in the school I graduated from.
You're breaking. I didn't hear that. All right, you can't hear you anymore. The bandwidth is not carrying your voice at all. All right, so who else? What other contributions? Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, who is that?
Hello, Sukami.
All right, Sukami.
Yes. Well done, sir.
Yeah, Sukami.
You really done a great job.
Thank
I was just watching, like, I'm imagining so many things. Honestly, sincere, sir. But the only time I have...
Yeah. So that was like...
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Sukami is talking now.
Yes, I just want to... I don't know. I'm not trying to... I just want to encourage us with this word. The only time I have my career has made sense is when I switch over to IT. Are you with me, sir?
Mm-hmm.
And it has started making sense immediately after I did my training with TTC, because I was really equipped. I was like a bulldozer. Like, I was just hot. At least that little thing I know, I was like, you can't trust me. So I been coming around again, getting knowledge from you and all that is. I'm really happy coming around. I have to be sincere with you. I'm so happy. But this is my question.
Okay.
On that web server configuration.
Okay.
For companies that has HR application, finance and accounting application, or probably web application, maybe more than one or two, maybe more than two. Can't we have, like we have our PDC and SDC? Can't we have like a web server configured or created in so that we can house? What's the possibility of having a web server created like we have our PDC and SDC, so that to be able to manage web applications 3, 4, 5 of them, especially within an organization?
Are you saying, can we have an independent web server?
Yes, exactly.
Not dependent on domain controller. Of course, why not? Why not? In fact, you are encouraged to. But if you are not doing it, if you have enough workload for an independent web server, please go ahead. You are encouraged to do that. But if you are going to do just one website, and you feel that assigning a whole resources, that much resources to just one website of maybe 3 pages, it may not make economic sense. But if you have enough workload, why not? Go ahead. So in that case, you don't have to load domain controller, you don't have to load DNS, you don't have to load the ACP. The only thing you do for an independent web server is load your server operating system and then put your IIS on it. That's it. Load your server operating system, much, join it to the domain. Then after you have joined it to the domain, put your IIS on it, and then continue on the way we practiced it in class. Yes, it will work.
Right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
By God's grace, I'm going to be in the class for the
Which class?
First.
Sorry?
Yes, I'm coming in, sir. I'm coming in, sir.
Okay, we'll be expecting you. We'll see you there. I hope I didn't get what you said, but I hope I'm guessing right what you said. All right, so yeah, that's encouraged. Developing a new web, because actually that's what it should be, as long as you have enough workload. Because in your architecting for a reliable, scalable, and okay, let's stop at those two. A reliable and scalable network is very important. Yes, secured, network is very important. Then another thing that's also very important, if not more, just as important as the rest, is costing. So when you build your network, it must be cost effective. You don't build it, Elon Adams will not design a network that will do the same thing that Moyosori's network will do, and then it will not cost me more to implement Elona Adams than it will cost me to implement Moyosori's network. If the two networks are designed the same, I asked you 2 questions about DNS, the same answer. About DHCP, your knowledge and the design. There is a reason for adding every protocol, every feature that you have designed on the network. Nothing is waste. I say, okay, in future, I'm going to have this. Yeah, I know. That's why I have put this. Okay, what about if I may forget this? Just explain everything perfect. But at the end of the day, it's going to cost me twice what Moyosori's network is costing me. Then I'm going to patronize Moyosori. Not because because you are a bad engineer. There's no hide. What makes it bad is not because your network is not good, Elona. It's only because it's going to cost me so much to implement your network. So being cost effective, not at this level. At this level, you are just at the level of cloud, because by the time you start to architect your own cloud, because you are going to cloud and saying, This thing you did with your virtual machine now, within your system, you are going to do it in cloud. You are going to go into a warehouse of enormous resources, and you're going to say, what do I need? I need this CPU. How much hard disk do I need? Because the bigger the hard disk you attach, the more you pay. Just assemble all the, it's called architecting, all the tools, all the resources, all the protocols and everything you need to work together to give the best platform for the application that your customer or your employer has in mind. This one is no longer experiment, and this is real with live IP. So at the end of the day, we are going to say, okay, the hard disk it took $0.5, the CPU, this dollar, will add up everything. Of course, the cloud also has a calculator for us to do that. $350 every month. Okay, we'll look at the other one, $150 every month. Why is this one cheaper? This one can do everything this one can do. The $150 person wants. So that's how it works. So in fact, the reason we are bringing you into work for us might be for you to save us that extra $200 we are paying every month. So if you save us extra $200 every month on that system for 300 systems, 300 times 200, for example, 60,000 thereabout every month. So if we now pay you 10,000 out of the 60,000 you are saving us every month, you are worth it. The cost. That's just by the wayside. It's not as if it's relevant to what you have learned so far, but generally, cost. Bring cost to don't compromise quality, don't compromise any of the other important factors that must play a major role, but make sure that you are not wasting money. All right. All right, so who has spoken today? Sheon Wolabi. So I'm designing a network for your organization, and I'm coming to make a presentation. Sheon, can you hear me? Sheon cannot hear me. All right, Uyo. Uyo, can you hear me? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
I can hear you now.
Okay, all right, so this question is for everyone there. Last question, 5 minutes to go. So I'm designing a network I'm bidding for a network for your organization, and I've designed the network based on your requirements, because I have been there to hear your requirement. What do you want to achieve? You told me about the application you want to achieve in cloud. I said, okay, that application. I've asked you a question. That is, I'm taking in your requirement. I'm also a requirement engineer, by the way. So I take in all your requirements, I ask questions, and you give me all the answers, and then I go design, architect a cloud network to fit in to take your application. I architect a cloud platform that would support the kind of application that you want in cloud. So I come back and say, oh, that's your application, I've done it. Maybe the application will be something like everybody that pays money into Nigerian bank account, I want 0.001% of that money to come. I want this app to deduct 0.005 of that money and move the money to this account. Maybe that's the application. So you give me, okay, so I say, yeah, that's possible. I put on. So now I'm making a presentation to you to say, yes, I have designed the kind of network that will do that will support that kind of application. What's in my presentation, I know my big grammar just to convince you, my big technical vocabularies. What would you be watching out for? What key parameters would you use to judge my presentation, so you can decide whether to give me the contract or give the contract to somebody else? Oh yeah, answers. No answer? Sure, will I be one answer? If I have to repeat that question, then you did not. Don't ask me to repeat that question. You have understood that question.
Oh, well, I would like to know how you're going to set up your server. And
I'm not a technical person. You are just interested in your money. So what concerns you with my server?
Okay.
That's not the right answer. Shane Olabi, you want to say something?
Oh, okay.
The question.
You forgot the question. Okay, so you are not the right person to answer.
So, Moyo.
Yeah, Moya.
I'd like to be sure that the application is secure,
okay,
and that is flexible enough. It's flexible enough and scalable. It can be scaled.
Okay.
In case things, go beyond the total number of people or accounts that we originally planned for.
Mm-hmm.
And also, and be sure that yes, what you're actually presenting is feasible, not just word of mouth.
All right. So that is it. So we want to look at the security very closely and ask me questions around the security, about the scalability. What about the reliability, like you already said earlier on, Boya? So you want to make sure the network I've architected for you is reliable, right? And by reliability in cloud, actually means that there is redundancy, that if anything happens to this network and it goes down, it can always come up somewhere else in Japan or something. And then was the fourth one we listed for? We talked about security, reliability, scalability.
The business-wise. I'll look at the business-wise area.
What's the fourth one?
Flexibility.
Cost.
Yeah, costs.
That is it. Once you answer like that, once you're able to take care of these 4 core areas in your presentation, because questions are going to come up. Well, you're sorry. What do you do?
Yes, sir.
Are you an IT person?
Yeah, I study computer science.
So what do you do now?
I develop. Presently, I'm administrative assistant. Don't say I'm into IT. I consult for the judiciary, not like full employment. It's a consulting thing. Yes.
Okay, but you are not in IT now?
No.
Why?
Just like you said, just like you said, we have to, trying things out. I know IT is the calling eventually, but still trying to see if, just to make ends meet. I don't think I can work for people too much. So eventually it is IT. I know.
Okay, you definitely will make a good IT person, and so would Uyo. Hey, why am I mentioning names now? In fact, whoever I don't, and so is Uzoma, and so is. Why did I mention name? If I don't mention your name, I will look like this man doesn't think I'll make a good IT person. But well, your approach to the question is, it shows if this was an interview, I'll take more interest in you. Well, you're sorry, I'll take more interest because you're good. And then of course, so that's it. That's it. It's 11:01, so we're done. Finally, end of 4 weeks free training.
We celebrate you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When is your birthday? When is your birthday, sir?
Let
me send you a special gift.
Okay. Don't run away when the time is there.
No, I won't.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you guys around.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Suleiman
Garba.
Sir?
We may not see you again, though, because Niger is
no, so Niger is close to Abuja now.
Okay, actually, it's close, yeah. Suleja, right?
Yes.
Suleja is in Niger.
It's under Niger. Suleja is under Niger. Suleja is close to
Wow. All right, so a couple of you I'll still see in my intern class, but for the rest of you,